Alright, today we're going to put in the zipper on my pants. So my first step is I'm going to take my curved fly piece and I'm going to serge this edge here, and then I'm going to turn it inside out. Alright, so I serged my edge and now I'm just going to go ahead and turn that inside out. Alright, so now I have this piece nice and neat here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my pair of pants. This is the left side of the pants, and this is the pretty part, the part that is facing out that you're going to see. We're going to take that fly piece and we're just going to connect it with the serger here on the edge. Alright, so now I've got that piece here serged on here. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull this out. I'm going to take this seam here, I'm going to fold it to one side, and I'm going to straight stitch along on top of that there. Alright, so I've got that seam underneath here on this side, and I'm just going to sew as close as I can to that edge with a straight stitch. So now I have that nicely sewn down here, and eventually that's going to come around back here like that. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to match my zipper here with my foot coming down, and I just want it to be matched up along the edge of that where we sewed just a little bit ago. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of pins in it just so that it does not move on me. I'll put one more. And I'm going to go ahead and sew along this edge here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use my zipper presser foot, and I'm just going to change it out real quick. Go ahead and clip my strings here. Alright, so now we have that zipper sewn in onto that side here. Just like that. Eventually it's going to come folded over like that. And that will be your zipper opening there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab that other piece that we have like this. I've got this one folded here. And I'm just going to go on the other direction, and I'm going to serge this curved edge here and turn it inside out just like we did with the other piece. Alright, now we have that, we're just going to turn it right side out again. So we just have that nice piece here. And I just matched this piece up so that when I have my zipper fly closed, these two pieces that I have, this one down here and this one here, are just going to line up perfectly, and there's not going to be any overlap this way or on the other side. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and overlock this side seam here. Here, our next step is going to be to take this zipper, and we're just going to sew this piece right on here. So I'm just going to match these up here with this piece down here. I'm going to use a few pins just so it doesn't move on me at all. Alright, so what I'm just going to sew is I'm just sewing the zipper to this piece here. And since eventually that extra piece is gonna get cut off at the top, I'm not worried about sewing it all the way to the end, even though I did really get quite close with that stitch there. Alright, so basically we have that zipper piece finished. Like, the only thing that we're missing is attaching the other side of the pants. Before we are going to go do that, I'm just going to go ahead and press this down with an iron. And here on my other pair of pants, so this is now the right side of the pants if you're looking at, I'm going to go ahead and press this down as well. But I'm going to just fold over what I'm going to sew when I do it. And as I come down to this area, I'm going to slowly taper it off. Like that. And then eventually this will just be what it is now. So it's only going to be pressed to about where you have the end of that zipper, and then it's just going to get tapered off. I went ahead and pressed down that side with the iron so it lays nice and flat. And I went over here, and as I said, I pressed that down here, tapering it towards the end here. Alright, so our next step is we're just going to go ahead and take this piece. It's got our zipper on it. We're just going to fold this back here. And now here's kind of the tricky part. Our piece that we ironed down here, we're going to place it on top here of the zipper. And that's where we just want to go ahead and sew that down with a nice straight stick all the way to the bottom. I'm just gonna open my zipper up, and we're just going to sew this on here with a straight stitch. I'm gonna put my foot down, and I'm gonna pull that zipper back up to here again. Alright, so now that I have that zipper out of the way, I put my press foot back down. So this is what our zipper looks like here. We've got this piece that we just sewed on down here, our zipper, and this is the piece that comes over like that. Alright, for the next part, what we're gonna go ahead and do is turn our pants to the inside. We're going to find these two edges, and that's what we want to go ahead and sew now. So we're just gonna match up the ends here. And we're going to come along here, and we're just going to finish this seam along here. I'm going to sew it twice just so it's extra strong, and I'm going to stop about an inch away from the edge of my seam so that we have room to work with when we go ahead and sew our 4 crotch seams together here. So on our outside at the moment, it looks very nice. So it goes from this closed pant down into that seam that we just made. Alright, now our very last step for this is going to be to sew this decorative, it's usually like the shape of this is to sew that decorative stitching along here. So you can either do once or twice. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do once on there, and I'm going to switch to a thicker top stitch thread for that one. Alright, so I have my pair of pants laid out here nice and flat with my zipper here, you can see. So I just have it laying flat here, and you can kind of feel on the edge where that end of that fly cover is. For me, it's right along here, same as my pattern piece. So this is my pattern piece I used. What we're gonna go ahead and do now is do a top stitch along here in that same kind of formation. And for me, I'm just gonna go in about a centimeter or so. To do that, I'm going to use my pattern piece just to help me out here. And I'm gonna go ahead and mark it along the edge, that way it comes out nice and smooth here. Alright, so that's where I want my top stitching to go. There is all along that edge here. And when we do it, we just want to make sure that we are catching behind here. I have this piece is what I want to catch primarily. And then we have this other piece that we want to go ahead and fold back when we're ready to go ahead and do our stitching. So, and I'm just going to sew this line down here and the beginning of the curve, and I'm going to stop around here. Then we're going to lay this flat down, and then we can go ahead and continue on that line as it would show on the front. So for now, I'm just going to pull this completely out of the way, just so that we don't sew anything that we don't want to sew. Alright, now that I've changed my needle, my stitch length, and my tension for this, I'm going to go ahead and take this piece, and we're going to make that decorative stitching on the outside that we've drawn here. I'm just making sure that that still looks nice and lays flat well. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my needle down here on top of where it needs to be. And I can feel that I've only got one piece of that fabric here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and begin then. Just making sure this looks nice as I go along and just going slowly. Okay, as I'm coming to this curve here, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it slowly, pivoting with the hander just to make sure everything comes out nicely. Alright, so I'm feeling that second piece of fabric here. I'm gonna go ahead and stop, and then we will finish that decorative stitching here in just a second. So I'm just gonna take this out. I'm gonna leave my threads nice and long. At the bottom. So I have that nice line of stitching here, almost finished. I'm going to come to this back end, and I'm going to take out my pins here. I'm going to go ahead and take out a few lines of stitching that I did too far. Okay, so here I've been able to pull my thread out from the top side, and I have the thread from the bottom side. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot with those two. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and clip those two strings that I have. I'm going to fold this back, and then on the other side I'm going to finish that line of stitching going through all 4 pieces of fabric there. Alright, and that's it. Alright, so this is what the front looks like. my nice line of stitching there, and I just went and caught like one thread from that fabric here, and I did a little back stitch. Looks very nice. And here on the inside we can see that we have it, this opens up all the way except for down here where we went back and did that last bit of stitching there. I'm just gonna clip those threads as well. And so this is what it looks like on the outside. We open it up and we have our zipper. There we go.